We'll be back.
Hello, everyone. Jason Hagholm here, and it's that time yet again. A day later, but it's still nonetheless time for another edition of Jason and the Gentleman. And to do it with me at the show as always, the gentleman of mixed martial arts, the gentleman Josh Hill. Josh, how are you doing?
I'm good, bud. How you doing? Nice flamingo shirt you're rocking there.
Hey, it's summertime. You gotta rock it.
Yeah, man. Buttoned up to the top, eh?
Well, honestly, my beater underneath is a mess, and I don't want to have too much chest hair looking like Razor Ramon out here on a broadcast.
So. Have that meat sauce hanging out there?
No, you don't want to have that.
No?
I didn't know 1984 was back in style, so I didn't want to have that. But gotta, button it up and rock the flamingo. It's a very comfortable shirt.
84 was a good year.
It was a good year. Yes, definitely. It was many great films came out in 84.
Oh, yeah. My favorite of the 80s for sure.
Which is?
No, that was my favorite year of the 80s for movies.
Oh.
Yeah. So many good ones, man. Karate Kid, Nightmare on Elm Street, Terminator.
Did Josh Hill also come out in 1984?
Did I?
Yeah. Were you born in 84?
86, bro.
Okay. I didn't want to date you. I thought that was also a part of it. But No, yeah, 1984, great times. I mean, it's around that point too, with the boom period of the World Wrestling Federation, the start of the golden age, Josh.
Right, man. First, wasn't the first Royal Rumble that year? I think it was, and in Hamilton, I think.
The first one was in Hamilton, but it was in '88. The first one was in '88.
'88? Is that? Oh, yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah, it was '80. What was the first WrestleMania? '85.
'85, yeah.
'85. Okay. Yeah.
So not too far off. Yeah, USA Special was the first Royal Rumble. So shout out to Hamilton. They need to bring pay-per-views back to Hamilton. I haven't had one since Over the Edge or something like that, 98 or Breakdown 98.
98, really, was it? Yeah. No, yeah, there's no shows in Hamilton ever, man. Like, as far as anything, wrestling, MMA.
Soon to be Canadian football, though, Josh.
Yeah.
That's back.
That's good. Yeah. Good.
But so I was glad you had a good weekend, Josh. And it was a busy weekend in mixed martial arts, and may as well just jump right into it. This weekend headlined by Islam Makachev in a lightweight bout, or this past weekend headlined by Islam Makachev, Thiago Moises. Honestly, we all knew Makachev, potential title contender guy, another performance where he looked fantastic and mauling Thiago Moises for impressive victory. And I don't know if Makachev's there yet, Josh, but he's got to be 1B to the 1A of the top tier lightweights.
Yeah, I don't. I think the reason he fought Moises, there was just nobody either willing or available to fight him that's higher in rank. Again, we're going by these rankings, but what rank is he right now?
In the UFC, I'm honestly not even sure, just because I don't buy into the 10, rankings. Though, right? Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think he's in the top 5 too.
Top 5, yeah. So and the other guy was in the top 15, right? But I think it was 13 or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
So he's taking a step back as far as guys that are above him in ranking. So I think his next fight should be a guy in the top 5, and one where it could possibly put him in that title contender opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know who he's gonna get, and I think the biggest problem that he has is just how dominant he makes it look, and trying to get people to fight him, because he's talked about in the past of nearly retiring because he couldn't get opponents. The same issue that plagued the current welterweight champion Kamaru Usman. Sometimes it's just tough to get fights, and when you're 20-1 and make it look easy all the time, no one wants to fight you to mess with their ranking or anything like that. But somehow, some way, he's got to fight one of those elite level 155ers in the UFC.
Yeah, he has to. A big name, somebody like a Chandler, Gaethje. Obviously Tony is. Tony, I guess, but he's kind of 3-fight losing streak. I don't think that's a good matchup right now. But somebody like that, he's definitely right there. He's a hard guy. He's a hard guy to. Obviously, he's really, really good. But he's hard to look good against too, right? So that's why a lot of people, I think, are kind of shying away from that one. he's a tough matchup for everybody.
I think the biggest thing for me for the continued elevation of Islam Makachev is he's Khabib's boy. And it's like kind of the continuation of the Khabib title run. So for how his style is and makes it harder for people to want to find him, or maybe some people may not find him entertaining to watch, at least having Khabib in your back pocket and being your coach, that's a big plus for someone like Makachev.
Yeah, but people said that earlier in Khabib's career too. Like, he wasn't like flashy knockout type guy. He just mauled guys. But then look at what he did. Once he started fighting the top tier guys and beating up the big names, it became exciting to watch. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think he's kind of on that same trajectory.
Yeah, I think he's for sure on the same trajectory, and I think he will get those opportunities because of being related to Khabib, and Khabib, giving up the title sooner than we ever thought he would because of his father passing, whatever. But yeah, he's got to fight. I don't know when he fights next or who he fights next, because I know Michael Chandler's called out Justin Gaethje saying he wants that fight. I mean, let's be real. I want that fight. I'm sure you want to see that fight. All of MMA wants to see that fight. So I hope those two don't fight anyone unless it's those two, Chandler versus Gaethje. But it doesn't leave a lot of room open for him to make a big splash in the division with some guys. Like, as you said, Tony Ferguson, maybe. But Tony is, as we saw in his last fight against Darush, he's definitely lost some mileage from what he was just 2 years ago.
Maybe that's a guy, Darush, actually.
Yeah, maybe that's the fight. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting match too, because both very good wrestling, good grappling, and might cancel each other out, or you might see more of a striking match or whatnot. But that's a good match.
If we stick with the lightweight division, though, Josh, because Chandler, who was also on the UFC broadcast desk, I thought did a tremendous job and has a great career as a broadcaster after his fighting career is done. But he made a post out there on Instagram pretty much calling out Gaethje, saying he wants the fight and wants Gaethje to accept the fight. And I guess Gaethje's manager doesn't really want to accept it, but they have to make this fight, right, Josh? Now is the time.
I think it makes sense. You got Poirier is going to fight Oliveira. You got Conor's out for a year. I think those are the next two guys really in there to claim for the next number one contender. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't think I've seen. I mean, you got Makachev and Darush there, and then after that is I don't know, Rafael dos Santos maybe or dos Anjos. That's pretty much it. So I think that's the fight to make, and it's a exciting matchup too.
It's one that even could headline a pay-per-view sans a title. I know the UFC doesn't like to do that, but if you put, to me, Gaethje Chandler on the top bill, I'm spending the $60 to see that, because this is a fight that two former champions in other promotions now in the UFC, you have to see this fight. It has to happen.
Yeah, former World Series champ, former Bellator champ. That'd be dynamite, man. I'd love to see that one. We
just need Gaethje to respond and accept the challenge. We just need it to happen, Josh.
I mean, Gaethje will fight anybody. It's not about that. I think it's more so timing, contractually doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? So hopefully it does pan out. It'd be better for the fans.
I think it'd be better for both those guys too. I mean, Gaethje, you're coming off a loss against Khabib, which there's no shame in that. Chandler's coming off one of the most exciting fights of the year, where he nearly won the lightweight title. Unfortunately, his night ended early in the second round. Why not make the fight? It's got to happen. Somehow Dana White's got to get this one right. This is the one fight I think every hardcore fan really wants to see. To me, when they signed Chandler, I only wanted to see him fight Gaethje.
Yeah. I thought they would have definitely crossed paths at some point. They should make that one.
I really hope they do. But sticking on last weekend's card, I mean, it was a pretty good card, but didn't have a lot of maybe pizzazz to a lot of it. But I mean, the one big story coming out of this card going into it was the return of Miesha Tate, Josh. I mean, after a layoff since 2016, and she looked fantastic. Was able to go out there, wreck shop, and be the first person to stop Marion Renault, who called it a career after the fight. But Miesha Tate, adding some more intrigue in this women's 135-pound division.
Yeah, it's good for the division for sure. Because with Nunes just kind of reigning supreme on it and just taking out contenders and kind of getting a bit stale, and they're really having to pull to find a next contender. So yeah, it's good to have a big name back in there for sure. And yeah, she looked good. She looked like she was like leaner. So I think she'd been like just really, really probably working her cardio like crazy, and it definitely showed in the fight. Yeah, she looked good. Especially after a 5-year layoff. Didn't look like she had any real like ring rust out there. Mind you, she did fight somebody that was 44 and lost 5 in a row. So it was a great fight to come back to. That's for sure. Just to get back in there, get the feeling back, get a win under your belt, get that confidence back. And, but yeah, definitely look good. And it's a good addition back to the division.
I think it's just great for the UFC to have her back as a name that, just even from 5 years ago, still has a lot of pull. And in the division that she's fighting in, is the champion hasn't changed since she lost the title to said champion. Like, there's been so much turnover in the sport and especially in the UFC. So it's great to have her back. And as we said, this division really, it needs some name power because Amanda's kind of just running through all these girls. And I know Juliana Pena is going to try next month to stop the train that is Amanda Nunes. I don't think the odds are right now in her favor, but I think she's at least talking a good game. I think she'll bring a good fight, but it's still odds are looking Nunes. So why not have Miesha Tate in it? And what did you think of Miesha Tate post-fight with the smooshy talk about the Marineland thing? It's like,
that's super weird because me and my wife were in Niagara Falls that day actually, and we saw an ad from Marineland, and we were just kind of talking shit. Like, I seen some posts about how they're not allowed orcas anymore after the last one dies. Like, that's it. Which I'm all for. I don't like the captivity and that stuff. That it just, from all the shit that I've seen in documentaries, just it's not good. But yeah, just kind of ironic that she said that. I thought she was talking about the whales. I think it was like a walrus or something.
It was a walrus. Yes, it is a walrus. There is a documentary which is on CBC Gem about the whistleblower from Marineland.
Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah, man. I'm all for. There's a difference between. I have like a love-hate relationship with the zoo because I do love to go see animals, but I don't want to see animals in captivity under their. There's a difference between sanctuaries and just like zoos or something like Marineland, where you're just putting them on display and basically making them perform as slaves. So yeah, I'm not in favor of that. I think Marineland is on the outs, and I think eventually it'll just be gone. So I'm cool with that if that happened.
I literally had I was in that last time I was in Niagara was I want to say last summer, and it's like I can't even think of them marketing Marineland anymore.
They still do.
I really is it still pushed hard? Because I just felt like maybe it's because I'm older, but I don't remember the city really marketing it like, hey, come check out Marineland or anything like that. Yeah, I feel like the press has gotten so bad about Marineland and these places where they put whales and dolphins and walruses for show. And this documentary really shows how shitty their lives are in there.
Yeah.
It depressed the hell out of me.
Yeah. I seen like a bird's eye view of like the tanks and how small they are. And it was like I don't know how true this is as well, but just something I've seen, and it just showed the dark spots in all the water is fecal matter, and it was all 80% of it was all dirty. It was just disgusting. So, but yeah, they still market them out here. There's billboards. I hear the radio ads. They still push people. Just go still. I think even people that probably have seen that stuff, they just do it. I mean, I boycott that place. I'm not going to go back, and I won't bring my kids there. So like I said, the zoo, it's I want to go see the animals, you know what I mean? And I do want to see that, but I only want to see them if they're like a sanctuary type thing. They wouldn't have survived in the wild, you know what I mean? They're brought there for their own good, and treated well, but you never know, man. You just don't know how they're actually treated.
We're on the same page. I feel the same way about anything that holds animals in captivity or anything like that. It's imagine if roles were reversed and that was us in captivity, just to put on shows and whatever. I hate zoos, hate Marineland type places like that. Just let them live in their natural habitat.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, I like I said, the only ones I see if they're actually like about to go extinct and they're like preserving them and like but other than that, yeah, just I guess I got to go to Africa to actually see.
Well, I mean, maybe that's why they're sometimes best to just look at in pictures and whatever than ever needing to see a tiger up close. Like, you really don't need to see a tiger up close. But I just thought it was pretty interesting because of any of the fighters on that card, for Miesha Tate to bring awareness to the plight of, Smooshy the Walrus and the mistreatment at Marineland, like, that's the fighter you wanted, like, to get the eyeballs on it. And it's crazy how much like traction this is getting from the people that are, supporting the boycott of Marineland and trying to save the walrus. Like, Miesha Tate did a very strong thing for putting an eye on the terrible treatment of animals at Marineland.
Is that the same in like SeaWorld in the States? Are they getting the same, like they get shit on too? Like for the same
I'm pretty sure they have been for a long time. I don't know what it's like there anymore because I know Canada banned like captivity of animals in like a Marineland type place. Like you can't, like whales and whatever can't go there anymore. Yeah. But it's kind of sad because there's only like one orca whale left at Marineland and it's just screaming for someone to play with. And it's been in captivity alone for like 10 years. That is why we need to get rid of these animals.
Yeah, but I guess like with that one, what do you do? Put it back in the wild?
I don't know what you do because I don't think it could function properly.
Yeah, probably not. It would probably just die, right? Or get, I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know enough about this shit, but it's like, I mean, just whoever is going to treat animals best, probably in their natural habitat. But it's weird that we're talking about this now.
Hey, I just thought it was of any political message a fighter was going to put on for Miesha Tate to talk about a Canadian park. I thought was crazy, and I thought it was great that it was, Miesha using her platform for that reason, and it's just getting more eyeballs on the documentary that is out there for free on CBC Gem. Yeah,
my wife worked there when she was like, I don't know, like I think she was like 15 or 16 or something like that, and she said, because she's from Niagara region, and she said like they fed like the bears there like scraps, like old French.
They still do.
Yeah, she's like it was bad then even, that was over many years ago, right? So yeah, man, it's I see the end for Marineland. I mean, maybe not, man. I don't know, because people come from all over the world to Niagara Falls. It's like it's such a huge destination and honeymoon capital of the world. So there are always people there. So you might always just have people coming through, but
I feel like Niagara Falls, though, has like 10 times more attractions than when Marineland first got there or is even of interest. Like, even for me, just when I've been there, it's like, oh, you can do this. Like, now you can zip line over the falls. That's 10 times more cool. And whatever. You're risking your safety than poor animal in captivity.
No. Yeah, it's, I don't know. We'll see what happens, dude. But yeah, I'm all for helping. I like animals more than I like people. So
I think a lot of people feel that way. Yeah, people suck, animals rule. But yeah, good on Miesha for using her platform. And I think people just need to check out that documentary on the Smooshy, so Save Smooshy the Whale. Like I'll try to put the link in the description box after we're done about this. But I think honestly, other than Miesha's performance, I think the only other performance was Billy Quarantillo at 145. He just absolutely killed it. Had the performance of his career, battering his opponent there in Gabriel Benitez. And, Billy got a big bonus out of it. And Billy's a guy that's fought some of the toughest of the tough. Lost to Gavin Tucker before that, beat Kyle Nelson. So at least he didn't have to fight a Canadian and went south of the border this time and really put a hurting on Gabe Benitez.
Yeah, he's from around the border, isn't he?
He's from like the New York area, but like border town to Canada.
Yeah, because he's fought a lot of, I think a lot of like those King of the Cage shows bordering. Yeah. So, but yeah, he's been around, man. He's good, very well rounded. He looked great. So I think his next fight will get even a bigger name, I think, in the next one.
Yeah, for sure. And he's gaining in popularity. He's one of those fighters that's really active on social media and interacting with fans, which can only help your appearance grow on social media and keep gaining a fan following. But that was last week's card. Some news, I guess, kind of came out from the card at UFC 264, and we're continuing to talk about Conor McGregor and his ankles. Apparently, there's the story that the Nevada Commission didn't know he had an ankle issue when he said he had fractured ankles coming in. He wanted to have like his ankles wrapped. Dana White says apparently he also has like near arthritis in his ankles. Why are we making excuses for Conor McGregor?
Because it's their cash cow.
I understand that, but come on, it's getting much.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. It's over, man. It's finished. You know, broke your ankle. The fight's over. You lost. It's kind of sucks how it did end, but it's over, man. It's like The Sopranos. It's over. Move on. Although we got the Many Saints of Newark coming out, so it's not quite over. But yeah, it's yeah, man. I don't know. It just because he's such a huge draw, people want to make excuses. He's got the fans that'll do anything. Conor could lose 8 in a row and they still say, he's still, what I mean? Just, I get it. It's their money maker, right? So they're trying to do whatever they can to make it look good on him,
Yeah, but I don't know. Just something about this, like, I had a fractured ankle. If you had a fractured ankle before a fight, you wouldn't fight.
Well, it depends.
I guess depends, yeah, on the severity of it.
You never want to pull out of fights, right? Obviously, you don't get paid. That's what sucks about this sport and how I wish it would change in the future, and maybe it will. But we're not guaranteed anything. A guy who goes in the NFL and gets hurt the second game in, he's still going to get paid for the rest of the season. Here, you don't fight, you don't get money, right? So, I mean, it's not like he needs.
I was going to say it's Conor McGregor though. He's the one that kind of breaks the exception of the rule.
Exactly, but Conor is a guy that you don't really ever see pull out fights. True, like to credit to him there. Like I don't think I remember him doing it in the UFC anyway. So yeah, I mean, and then you always think you can just go through it. You got to tough it out, and once you get in the cage, you won't even think about it because your adrenaline's rocking. So little tiny things that are kind of bug you during training camp, sometimes you just forget about once you're in the fight. So maybe that was his mentality, and then it came back and bit him on the ass, if that was something that was a precursor to the event.
But to me, the arthritis claim from Dana White though is like he has arthritis.
Arthritis doesn't mean you're going to break your ankle.
I know
is pain in your joints from just usually damage or wear and tear. So that's nothing to do with that. You know what I mean?
I just loved that. He had arthritis in his ankles, so that led to the bone breaking. I was like, Dr. White, stick to the promoting fights and not the medical diagnosis. But look, I understand it's your guy, but when you have this many excuses coming out, it looks bad, especially from Dana White. It looks bad, I think, in the eyes of the perception of people that, there's always this theory that you protect your stars. Yeah. And you don't want to actually have perception become reality in this case. I don't think.
Well, I think it is reality. You know what I mean?
Well, it's totally becoming reality. Yes.
I think it's been there for a long time, and I understand why. Because it's a business, and you're trying to keep your business making as much money as you can for as long as you can. So I understand why, but yeah, it's definitely you don't want to go over the top in showing that. That's the base.
Yeah, you don't want to show your hand or anything like that because that's just a slippery slope. And then you get other fighters that are like, "Hey, why aren't you doing that for me?" or anything like that. And when you have a UFC roster of like over 300 fighters, like that can't.
It was like 5 or 6.
Yeah, yeah, something like that. Like that can't go over well to once you get up there up the ranks. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of a interesting story, but we did have a Bellator card as well, Josh. I don't know if you watched it. It was a pretty competitive fight for the Bellator women's flyweight title. Denise Keyholds, she tried to win the championship, and I thought she fought a valiant fight this past Friday night, trying to win it from Juliana Velasquez. It was a very competitive fight. I don't know how you had the fight scored, Josh.
It was like from after I saw the fight and after I saw the numbers, I didn't think it was that. What was the girl's name? Not Velasquez.
Denise Keyholds.
I didn't think she outstruck her that much. You know what I mean? I didn't look like that in the fight. I think Velasquez just landed like the harder shots and used her jab a lot more and kind of kept that distance. I just think it was Keyholds was coming forward a lot and throwing a lot of volume. A lot didn't hit, some did, but I think it was super close, back and forth, very even fight. And I could see it going to a split because it was like that. I seen a lot of people saying robbery. It should have been.
Definitely not a robbery.
I wouldn't have said there was no robbery on either side there. I think it was a very, very close fight, and it could have went either way. It just kind of depends on how you look at it. But even a split decision. I don't. That's not surprising at all because it was razor close. And I don't know. I probably had it. I don't know. Probably 3-2. For Velasquez, I think
I had it 3-2 going the other way for Keyholt.
I could see that too, though, in that one. You know what I mean? So that's why I was just kind of on the fence with it. I said this could go either way.
It can go either way. It's definitely not a robbery, especially for how competitive and back and forth that fight was. Yeah. I mean, all in all, it means we probably get a Velasquez Alima Farland rematch down the line. I know Alima said she had some surgery on her knee or so a while back, so I guess she's still recovering from that. But that's the fight I guess you have to make. And I thought, Keyholt's, at least with that performance like that, you keep yourself in the mix because you lost a very competitive back and forth title fight.
Yeah. Has McFarland won since she lost the belt?
She hasn't fought since then.
She hasn't fought since then. Yeah. Okay. She definitely is up there, but I wouldn't be surprised if Carmouche got a title shot before her.
Yeah, for sure. There's always. That's a name that you did sign for that division pretty much, right? Yeah. So and she looks so good against Kana Watanabe a couple weeks ago. So I could definitely see them doing that. We had Tyrell Fortune against Matt Mitrione, and now the end of Matt Mitrione's Bellator run. I think Matt Mitrione needs to stop ducking his head into these situations where he gets headbutted and then freaks out that he got headbutted. It's not always a intentional headbutt.
Yeah, I mean, I get it that it sucks that happened, but it's like a fight. It wasn't like he was on the ground and the guy like totally, it's when you're rushing in with somebody and hit with their head, that happens a lot, man. And that's why a lot of times in sparring towards the end of camps, guys wear headgear just to prevent those type of injuries, right? But the biggest thing was, he got hit with it and then they went down. He was complaining to the ref and he just kept complaining to the ref. It's like, obviously you're intelligent. You're there. You're talking to the ref. You know what's going on. It sucks that he missed the call, but now you get out of this shitty spot now. But he just kept going. And then eventually just kind of, I think he just kind of pieced out and he was just kind of pissed off and didn't want to be there anymore.
Well, he's literally now pieced out of Bellator because he's now gone. So maybe it wasn't the best strategy. And I don't know where Mitrione goes. Maybe he comes back next year at PFL because they always need names of some kind for their heavyweight division, especially when you look at this year with their tournament kind of losing a lot of names and guys as going into even the second week of the regular season. So I could see that happening. But this was a card where I thought there were some good prospects on there, like, on the prelims for sure, like Syed Soma, the former Titan FC heavyweight champion. He had a big win there on the prelims. Arlene Belkow bounced back after the Cyborg loss. But this is a show I felt for Bellator going into your biggest show ever. I felt it was like a show from 2017 taking place in 2021. I don't know why. It just felt like that. Maybe just who the main event was. They aren't the biggest names. We didn't have Morrow on the call. We had Sean Grandy. I know Morlock was away with Morrow was away with the Charlo fight on Showtime, but still, those broadcasts have kind of missed Morrow and just something about it. I don't know. It just felt like I'd gone in the past 4 years. Yeah,
probably because the lack of Morrow is always, my favorite guy to be on the mic. He just brings that energy and that voice, And then like you said, the main event, obviously, two good females and a great scrap back and forth. But as far as namesake, they're not quite the biggest names yet, anyway. And then you got probably because you got Mitrione in there and losing the way he did, so it's an ex-UFC type thing. The one fight that I was watching obviously was Mathos and the CJ Hamilton bantamweight one. So I knew that would be good. I knew, I picked Mathos to win. I thought, the first round would be pretty close, and then you kind of pull away with it, and then pretty much what happened actually. But he looked good, man. He's a Pitbull Brothers guy, and well rounded. It looks like he hits hard, and another good bantamweight in the mix.
The biggest takeaway from me of the broadcast was they kept talking about, Scott Coker's talked about Bantamweight Grand Prix for next year. 17 times they said that. So Josh, I think you're getting a bantamweight Grand Prix come 2022.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything yet. I mean, I've been asking and nothing has been talked about. So if it is happening, I would assume they're waiting till 2022.
I would assume. I mean, yes, it's still July, everyone. Let's not. But just the way they were like, hey, you know, it's like when you're with your friends and you're trying to get that guy to ask the girl out that he likes, and you're just dropping the most obvious, subtle hints, but you're being really obvious about it. They're like, you know, Scott Coker, he's talked about maybe a bantamweight Grand Prix. I'm like, if any promotion does a tournament at 135, it has to be Bellator.
Yeah, 100%. It has to be. They got a stacked division there, man. And over the last year, they signed I don't know how many top-notch guys. So definitely can do it.
They definitely can. I mean, they can even have like play-in scenarios with it. Like that Mathos CJ Hamilton fight kind of felt like maybe an alternate type guy for this bantamweight Grand Prix, if it does happen. Like the winner is an alternate or finds their way as the last seed in the tournament somehow.
Yeah. I mean, depending. I guess if they do a 16 or an 8-man. Did they do a 16 for the featherweight? Or did it start at 16? Or was it 8?
I think it was 16. Yeah. Because I think you had to win, and then you got in this like they did the beat the clock type challenge from pro wrestling, right?
Oh yeah.
Like you had to win a fight, and then whoever won it the fastest got like first pick of who they wanted to fight.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, because I remember like the when they did the top 8, they did like the number draw, right? That kind of thing, which was cool, and they got to pick when they wanted to fight or who they wanted to fight or whatnot. But I think they did a 16 to start, and a 16 would be cool for bantamweight. Just there's so many of them, right? So it would make everything more interesting.
If so, then you got to watch your beat the clock wrestling match tapes and find ways to get it done and quickly, Josh.
Yeah.
No countouts there in MMA, unfortunately. You can't just throw your opponent out of the cage and wait for the 10 count. But yeah, I just thought there was something missing and lacking about like why should I get excited for July 31st with Pitbull and McKee? Where like if you're a hardcore, you're super excited. It's the best fight they've ever potentially promoted with 2 homegrown guys, but really zero buzz or mention of it other than like a McKee interview.
That was for me. I mean, I like Bellator's been great, and I think they're doing great things. The one thing that I always thought the one negative I ever had was lack of marketing. You know what I mean? That was something I still think that they're lacking. I think they're getting better at it, but for the longest time, you got to push things more. And even like when we have fights, like a lot of times they won't announce them until like 2 weeks out. You know what I mean? So just stuff like that. I think that's what they're lacking on. And I think I wish they just push that a little bit more. That would be better for everybody in the promotion, you know?
Definitely would be. I wish they'd find a way to do it. Maybe they now are starting to get in that mode because they have a better home for a television network in Showtime than they did towards the end of last year on CBS Sports Network, where they were just literally there to fill content before crappy college football.
I think absolutely with the Showtime, I think it's a greater platform. I think they can really start doing that, pushing it more. Well,
they've already announced another show for August. With Czech Congo and Sergey Karatanov in the main event, and then #1 featherweight title contender in Adam Borix and I was going to say CJ Hamilton, JJ Wilson.
Oh, is that what they're doing, Borix and Wilson? That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good fight too. I seen today or yesterday they announced Gallagher and Mix are fighting again in November in Ireland.
See, they're traveling, Josh.
Traveling, man. They're back. Yeah. So I'm bummed. I want that fight, obviously. But I figured that they would do that again because they were booked to fight, and there was some a lot of trash talk there. But to do it in Ireland, that would be, I would love that one.
To do it in Ireland, or maybe you can hit up amazing, beautiful Sioux Falls, South Dakota. That's where the August 20th show will be.
I've seen that. Yeah. I mean, whatever. It wouldn't be my first choice, but like I said, I've been to Thackerville, I've been to Connecticut twice, so I would probably be going to something like that, just knowing my track record.
Hold out for hopefully December in Hawaii, Josh. That's all you can hope for.
Yeah, I would love that, but I do want to fight before the next 6 months are going. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, it's good to see that they are traveling, because this next show, which as we said, it's the McKee Pitbull fight at the Forum in Inglewood, California. Then I believe they are coming back to Unkinsville at Mohegan Sun, then kind of starting that trend to travel out again, as many combat sport promotions are starting to look at that realm, other than UFC for fight nights, which are still at the Apex.
Yep.
Which brings us to this weekend, Josh. And arguably, if you look at the card for this weekend's UFC, this is a deep freaking card for a fight night card.
I know that obviously the main event, and other than that, I don't even think I can name another fight on it. Tell me something.
Well, you got Aspen Ladd, Miesha Tate, which also could be another, top contender at 130, women's 135. You've got Darren Elkins, Derek Minner, Kyler.
I do. Yeah, a lot of the alpha male guys. Yeah. So yeah. Kyler
Phillips against Julian Paiva. And Kyler Phillips is a guy that's really skyrocketing it up at 135 in the UFC. Macy Barber, Miranda Maverick. Like, that is just an unbelievable fight to kick off the main card for two top women's prospects that the UFC has in general.
Yeah, no, those are. I mean, he's so interested in those because Elkins I train with, when I go out there. So I'm looking for that one. I think, I think Elkins actually the underdog in that fight. And in my mind, that's a good match for him. Derek Minor, he's a good fighter, but more so grappler. And I think that favors Elkins, man, because Elkins' wrestling is great. His grappling is great. And he's very physically strong. I know Minor has fought at 35 before, so I think he'll be the smaller of the two. So I could see Elkins definitely putting on him and getting that sub.
Yeah. This card's just insane with the talent on it. And a lot of fights are at that 135-pound division, cemented around the main event, which we will get to shortly, Josh. But, I mean, we also got Andre Ewell, Julio Arce, Adrian Yanez, Randy Costa. That's a fight where both guys are having some fun, doing a little trash talk about which is the better, I guess, cheat meal food. Was it Dr. Pepper or Reese's Pieces? I guess the two. Well, Adrian Yanez, huge Dr. Pepper fan, and Randy Costa, huge Reese's Piece fan.
No,
so
I get it, but it's like
you can't compare the two in terms of, I guess.
Yeah, I guess if he said Mountain Dew and Dr. Pepper, that's an argument, or Reese's Pieces and Smarties, but the two totally.
Americans don't know what Smarties is, Josh.
Okay, Skittles,
M&Ms maybe,
M&Ms. There you go.
But yes, that's. All in all, regardless of the fun trash talk and candy, fantastic fight. But, I mean, this card's centered around, I think, one of the more interesting fights we've had that isn't a title fight in the UFC this year. It's Cory Sandhagen, TJ Dillashaw. It's the return of TJ Dillashaw post-USADA suspension. And Cory Sandhagen literally one win away from a title shot.
Yeah. I'm excited to see this. We've talked about it. I think TJ should have got a longer suspension than 2 years just for that. What blatant cheating and taking steroids and no tainted supplements or anything like that bullshit. So whatever. That being said, he's back. Regardless of that, TJ is very skilled, very good fighter, man. So he adds way more depth into that division that's already super deep. So to have him back in the mix is exciting, and to fight a up and coming, superstar that's been looking really, really good, man. A big bantamweight, tall, long guy that knows how to use his range. Looks like he's got a good gas tank and pretty well rounded everywhere. So yeah, and TJ's been off for that long, so it's going to be interesting to see where it plays out, how this fight plays out. If I have to pick somebody, I'm going to go with Sandhagen. Yeah,
I think you got to go Sandhagen just on the momentum he's on. I mean, this is a guy that cleanly flying knee knocked out Frankie Edgar with tons of movement going on, which it was the most pinpoint flying knee I think I've ever seen in the history of the sport. And I just think Cory right now it's just Cory was the biggest loser of the Peter Yan Aljamain Sterling fight because he would have fought the winner. Now we don't really know the situation is because Sterling's still coming off neck surgery, though he seems to be much healthier than he was, obviously post surgery. But man, I just can't not pick against Sandhagen. But I'm very interested to see what we see from TJ Dillashaw. This is a guy that hasn't fought in 2 years. And now he has to fight clean. That's also other totally different aspect for him and try to find a way to remove the stigma of being a cheater.
I don't think that stigma is ever going to be removed, to be honest, man. But yeah, we'll see. He said, I remember, like he said it was just for that last fight where he did a cut down. That's why he's doing it. But like, do you really believe that? I don't. You know what I mean? I remember there was talk at the Alpha Male for a while about him and juicing, and I didn't know if it was true or not. It was just kind of rumors. You know what I mean? So, but who knows how long he's been doing this? You know what I mean? It could be doing it his whole career, maybe not, maybe just the last few fights. Who knows? So it would be interesting to see how he is actually clean. I'm assuming they're probably testing the shit out of him, and also confidence wise, right? Because to take that, obviously there's a lack of confidence. There's a lack of belief in yourself to do it naturally. So that's why you're leaning on crutches like that to get that better edge. So by taking that away, we'll see if that hinders you. You know what I mean? We'll see if that plays out in the cage like that.
I think that's another big thing too, is because it's like in the past he was going into a fight like it's going into like a test with the cheat sheet. Now he doesn't have that anymore. He's not allowed to have that. He can't, and he was probably, as you said, like quadruple checked and tested going into this fight. So I don't know. It's just such a interesting situation, and he's like the biggest. I guess he is now the biggest poster boy for USADA and stuff, just because of what he had accomplished in the UFC, being a champion. But he's at least, to me, back at the natural weight. And I think there is a way he can remove the stigma, is if he does what he did, but does it clean. You kind of, in a way, do evaporate what you had done in the past.
We'll see.
I guess we will.
I don't know. It's hard. It's hard for me to like, I don't know. I guess maybe I'm holding grudges too much, but like to just let that go, because it's like, and maybe because it's like,
I get it from your perspective,
and I maybe because I know the guy a bit. I train with him, and then also like I'm friends with Cody, so like the effects of that, when he lost twice to him, so it's like it has that kind of bad taste in your mouth, where it's like you're cheated, and we don't know for how long, so it's just hard to get rid of that. But I mean, there's no doubt though that he is a great athlete, a great fighter, very, very skilled, one of the best ever. It's just it's unfortunate that he did that to kind of tarnish that,
Well, absolutely. And I get it from even just you as the fighter's perspective, where you're doing everything, you're making the weight, you're eating properly, and you're not putting anything illegal into your system. And then there's this guy that has the perception of like this golden, perfect guy, and it turns out he was cheating the whole time to do it. And I'm sure he wasn't the only one at a point in time, because I'm sure steroids were rapid in the sport before USADA really got involved in MMA. And USADA is it's a hit or miss thing. They're sometimes too hard on, false positives and people missing, like what they did with Tom Lawler. Like that guy's UFC career was ruined off of a tainted supplement pretty much. But I think USADA being there is for the best. They're trying to get the cleaner athletes. I mean, that's kind of what the documentary that's on TJ is about, is more about information on USADA. But still found it weird they were doing a mini doc on a known cheater in the sport and his comeback. I mean, it is interesting, but did he need a documentary?
Maybe they're just trying to kind of build him back in the good of the fans' eye. You know what I mean?
I think if he just goes out there and fights well, he can find a way to do that, because he's a very exciting, talented fighter. It's just now he's got to find a way to win, and obviously win without steroids.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all for testing. 100%. I mean, yeah, but I've never been tested Bellator yet. I know they do testing, but I think it's just kind of random. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I would love it if I was tested. I want me and my opponent tested every fight if possible. Of all my 24 pro fights, I've been tested once in my life.
Oh wow.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And a few times I was told I was being tested, it never ended up happening. Like, but I am all for it. I want to be, because I want to be on the same playing field as my opponent. Obviously, I don't want him, doing whatever. I mean, Dan Gable, I remember would say like, if he knows that his opponent's, taking some steroids, that's like a plus for him, because he knows that eventually that guy's going to break, because he already has that quit in him. He already has that doubt. So you can kind of look at it like that and take it that sense. But still, if somebody's taking something that's either going to make them recover better or have better cardio or be physically stronger in a sport that actually it matters, then yeah, of course we want to be on a level playing field.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all in all, there's just so
Baseball,
many.
baseball, let them juice. You know what I mean? Who cares? Because
Oh, well, baseball is different because they're letting this Hall of Fame player that was using steroids, he can get in. But Mark McGwire, hell no, he can't get in the Hall of Fame.
it just, I get it, rules, whatever, all this bullshit. But like, if you're in a sport that's not physically harming somebody else, like something like a football, pro hockey, obviously fighting, combative sports, but something that's like, it's like baseball where you're not, coming into physical interaction like that. You're hitting a ball, and running. So, I can understand it, being let slide. But when a sport like ours, it just can't. Unless you go old school pride style and just say, everybody, go ahead. We'll see let's see what we can do here. One of the two. It's gonna be one of the two.
Yeah, I don't know. For sure with people punching each other, you don't want someone jacked to the gills on steroids because that punch could end up killing someone anyway, even without the steroids. But now you're just adding extra muscle mass that wasn't there before to it. But yeah, I don't know. Steroids to an extent, when you look at, as you said, with baseball, steroids brought baseball back from the gutter after the strike. It was Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa. Let's see dingers. And then we want to, sacrifice them for how could they use steroids when everyone was on steroids and whatever. But I know steroids, hopefully they go away, but they won't. Someone always wants a competitive edge. If you can do whatever. We're literally days away from the Olympics, and that's always the topic. Oh, is he on steroids for whatever event? Now, granted, track and field, if they were all on steroids, I would love that. I would love to know who's the fastest cheater of all time.
Yeah, man. It comes down to put your best athlete with your best scientist. And see who's have you seen that Icarus documentary?
I've not.
It's pretty. You watch it. It's pretty crazy how the guy he wanted to, do a clean race, and then he also wanted to do a race where he was juiced, and they kind of filmed the whole thing. And during it, this guy, kind of called out the Russian athletes in the Olympics, and that's why they got kicked out of the Olympics. But yeah, it's a crazy documentary, but it just showed that the depth they went to cheat, and how there's always somebody ahead of the curve, right? And then testing eventually catches up to it, and then it's a race, right? So, it's a crazy topic that it's always going to be an issue. I think
it's always going to be an issue. And going into this weekend for MMA, it's a big issue right now, especially with the guy in the main event who was a former champion and now has to find a way to rebuild his image. And will he have the Lance Armstrong treatment? He at least gets to compete again, whereas Lance Armstrong never did and is now just a dirty, horrible person to a lot of people, even though he did a lot of good with his platform and was the best cheater out of everyone cheating in cycling at that point in time.
Yeah, exactly. He was he's a cheater within cheaters, right? They're all cheating. They're all doing the same thing. So that's why I was like, just let them all do it. You know what I mean? Whatever. But yeah, we'll see what happens with TJ. See how he looks physically, cardio wise. I'm assuming he's still going to be obviously in great shape, and he's a great fighter. But just coming off of that, we'll see what he can do with it and how he looks.
I think just with all those questions and whatever, I'm just so intrigued in this fight too, because there's also Cory Sandhagen, who's an amazing top level fighter who's coming off currently as the knockout of the year and could be the champion per se if he wins this fight. He should be fighting for a title after this Jan mess.
Yeah, he's got to be the number one contender if he wins this and fight the winner of the rematch between Sterling and Jan.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like I said, this card is a really good card. If you follow mixed martial arts and are a diehard fan, I think you're going to be really impressed with a lot of the talent, a lot of the fights. And these 135ers, Josh, they continue to be the story really of the weight class, really of the division, of the sport right now.
Yeah, dude. The little mighty midgets are taking over. Who's the guy that Paiva's fighting?
Paiva? Paiva, he is fighting Kyler Phillips.
Kyler Phillips, yeah, that's a good one. I know Paiva trained with him, and I could not believe he fought at flyweight because this guy was taller than me, probably by 2 inches, and way bigger than me. And I'm like, how would he fight at flyweight? So, anyways, he missed weight a few times. I know that, and he's had trouble going down there. No question why, because he's huge. So he's going up to bantamweight, but that's a really tough fight. I know Paiva's really good, but yeah, that Phillips really impressed me when he fought Song and beat Song. That was one where I was like, I thought Song. I didn't really hear this guy that much, and then I know how good Song is, so that guy really impressed me. So that's a tough match for Paiva, but hoping for the best for him.
Well, Kyler Phillips' nickname is the Matrix, and in his last couple of fights, he's been throwing some kicks that would be seen in the Matrix, that Morpheus or Neo would have been throwing in that movie. So, and Phillips continues to, if he wins this fight, he's 10-1. Like, you got to get him in the top of the rankings and get him a bigger name type fight in the deep sharks that are 135ers in the UFC.
Yeah, for sure. I think if he does win this one, then he'll get somebody that's a more recognizable name for sure. Just because you kind of have to. Yeah,
well, it's a big card for the hardcores. A lot of great talent, a lot of great fights, and that'll kind of bring us towards the end. But that UFC though, Josh, it's got to compete with the Olympics. Are you a big Olympics guy? Summer ones?
Not really anymore, man. Because I'll watch them, like I said, I'll put them on and watch. I'm not one to set my clock to anything and make sure I'm home for this or that. But if they're on, I'll watch them for sure. And I enjoy watching it. I was listening to today about Rogan was talking about it and how he feels about the Olympics. And I agree with him about how the athletes get nothing, you know what I mean? And then the amount of money that is made from the athletes by the Olympics and whatnot it's insane, and these guys are really getting nothing. If you look at Canadian Olympians, do they get much? What do they get? Do they get paid for this? Not a whole lot. They get a sponsorship maybe from Canadian Tire, so I feel like that's lacking there. I think the athletes should be getting paid.
I'd love if the athletes got paid. I just know. That's I guess the next thing.
Reason why they can't. Why are they not being, right?
I'm because it's the spirit of the Olympics, Josh. It's for the purity of the sport. It's like the college. It's like the college athletes. They did it for for the spirit, for the love of the game. Even though the university is making $30 bajillion off said players' names, but thankfully now those players can make money off their licenses and their name and whatnot, because finally America got with the times and pay those athletes, because they're literally paying gajillion dollars to these schools.
Right? Yeah, man. It's just exploiting them. That's all it is. He's using their services to make profit yourself, right? So it's I get it. Everybody wants to go there and to be an Olympian just because it has that prestige, right? And you're amongst the best in the world, but you should definitely get something for it. You know what I mean? I know some countries take care of their athletes a lot better than others. Some countries you're treated like a hero, right? Well, and you actually, get a lifetime salary basically, but some in Canada, we don't do shit like that. You know what I mean?
Well, also too, to me, depends on the sport. If you win an Olympic gold medal in whatever weight class in boxing, you can turn pro, and then you get already a lot more eyes on you because you're the Olympic gold medalist boxer turning pro, and then you can make eventually maybe close to what Floyd Mayweather makes. But if you win a gold medal in weightlifting, that's it. That's the peak of your sport.
Yeah, yeah. And then now it's just going to be all men beating the women. Wow. Because apparently they're allowed to be in there now, right? So, which is insanity. But
hey, they're testing her more than or him, or I don't know how to be in it.
There shouldn't even be a question. The guy should not be in there in the first place.
Hey, there's a question: should we be having these Olympics in the first place right now because of the craziness of COVID in Japan right now?
Yes. If you want to go, go. If you don't,
well, the fact that the Olympics we could cancel this. I'm they start on Friday. You can't.
They already canceled it 1 year, right? Already.
Yeah, they canceled them last year. They're supposed to be last year.
Yeah, I don't know, man. You gotta get on with your life and just do this shit, or else you're just gonna be hiding the rest of your life and not getting anything done. So, do it. Don't cancel it. Go.
Well, I think we've gone too far to cancel it.
Yeah, it's a go, man.
We really can't cancel
those that don't want to go, those that don't want to go spectate, or I don't know. Is there no spectators?
There are no spectators.
Okay, so then what's the big deal?
I don't know, but watching swimming without fans will be weird.
watching a lot of things without fans is going to be.
But especially like the Olympic sports, the swimming, that's going to be so weird. It's just we hear the stroke of the ocean of the pool.
Maybe they'll put like the background music in there, just like they did with.
Oh yeah, or just pipe in some crowd noise like they did before with like some of the soccer leagues did it too. But well, all in all, Josh, it's always fun catching up with you, breaking things down. I guess before we should go, BTC, they announced some fights for this August 14th card or August 15th card in Edmonton.
I'm stoked for that, dude. It's what is it? 3 weeks out, 3.5 weeks out. So
I know it's crazy.
Getting close. So that's good, man. And they announced 2 more shows.
In Ontario,
September, and St. Kitts in
November.
Yeah.
So
sweet. We got 3 more cards and basically keeping MMA in Ontario alive. Basically.
So shout out to the whole BTC team for keeping MMA in Ontario alive, even though once again their next show is out of the province, but fans will be there, and there's a lot of hot up and coming prospects that are making their pro debuts, and I mean there's still more to be announced. Like the card's just getting announced right now. Yeah,
you'll see more in the following days too. But yeah, it'll be similar to the last show as far as like building up new talent for the future. And I'm stoked, man.
And more importantly, fans. There will be fans there. You can buy tickets.
Alberta, yay! I can't wait to go there. Just to feel normal. When we called that last one, it still was great, but like just everybody can hear us. But
that was the most awkward thing ever. Looking at the referee, watching you finish the sponsor read, like, okay, now you can fight.
It's just so kind of weird. It's just too quiet, man. It's eerie and like as a fighter, you're kind of like zoned out of that because you're focused on the fights. But as a commentator, it's like all these, you can just hear everything.
Yeah, I spoke to one of the guys that is going to be fighting on the card today, and he was like, actually, I was kind of hoping to fight on one of these empty arena cards. I guess to just say he did it, but at least you're making your pro debut with fans, because trust me, it'll be a lot better than just your coaches are there.
Yes, exactly. I would not want to make my debut without fans if I could pick. But I mean, if you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it regardless. But yeah, with fans is just always better.
Could you imagine what your debut would have been like if you didn't have fans, Josh? Like, imagine how you fought, but without fans.
I think I was just so like kind of like in a different zone that I was just like, because I didn't know what to expect. I had no combative experience prior, so I didn't have anything. So I just went in blind. So if it was fans or not, I think it wouldn't have mattered. I was just I was in my subconscious.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Thankfully, come August 15th, you won't have to be in your subconscious. You just can be in the conscious. Yeah. And as we get to see some great prospects make their debuts for BTC 11, which takes place in Edmonton, Alberta. And more fights are to be announced and whatnot in the coming weeks. But I can't wait for that. And can't wait to talk to you once again next week. Before I let you go, as always, Josh, plug your Instagram where we can see the great memes you post.
Gentleman J. Hill, as always, man.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Josh. We'll get back to our regular time next week to break all down the happenings in mixed martial arts. So for Josh, I'm Jason. Peace out. Have a good rest of the week, everyone.